Hello and welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Jarrod, and joining me tonight is only one of our regular contributors, Sean. How are you, Sean?
I'm good, yeah. But worried that it's only me. I'm going to have to, if you hear me randomly mute at some point, it's because I've got a big fart brewing or I need to refill my whiskey or something. Usually I've got Liam's trains to run interference and that sort of thing. Not sure how I'm going to do it this week.
We'll figure it out. I'm sure if something's going on, there'll be people in the comments there, having their say. So, yeah, if that's the case, guys, get involved. Send through any comments as we go. But, yeah, we've got a few things to talk about. But before we start, I just want to send a shout-out to the guys over at a Celtic State of Mind, Paul and the team there. They put on the charity weekend over the weekend. We're one of 15 podcasts that were involved in that. So, yeah, just thanks again for having us on, boys, and really great cause. All the funds gone to St Mary's. They raised over 20 grand when the target was £10,000. So great job, and it'll be our honour to be involved again next year.
Yeah, it was a different. What was the cause last year? I can't even remember now.
There was like 4 different things. There was like a food bank.
Oh, that's what it was.
And there was,
yeah,
and
that's right. Yeah.
a few other things, but this year it all went to the parish.
We never really talked about that, did we? The parking police and the food bank collection thing. That was a shambles, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, there's been a few things like that going on lately, but yeah, I'm sure we can touch on that a bit later on, Sean. But yeah, my opinion was a bit of a joke, but yeah, it is what it is, I suppose.
PR nightmare. So just before we move on to Celtic, I just wanted to take a moment to gloat because I seen that you were at Amy Park getting whipped by my Perth Glory boys at the weekend there.
Yeah. Good on you. I was just saying, the most 2 ridiculous names. You got Victory and Glory. Like, only one of them could win the game. So imagine if it was a draw. Neither of them would have been successful living up to the billing. Anyway, thought I'd have a bit of a laugh on that front. But no, it was interesting game. It was a little victory on that one was dominating. And then next thing you know, red card. And you know how football is. Changes the game. But anywho, no one cares about our A-League over here. Everyone's tuning in to hear us talk absolute rubbish about Celtics. So what we'll do, the usual shout, if you are watching, thank you. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. Those of you who have, thanks. Also, if you want to listen to the audio format through as a podcast, please, if you haven't already done so, subscribe, because I had a look at the stats the other day and only 54% of our listeners are subscribers. So if we can somehow get the other 46% or whatever it is to subscribe, we would really appreciate that.
That's quite good that a lot of people are seeking out the podcast despite not being subscribed to it.
Yeah, it's decent. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. So yeah. I actually found it pleasantly surprising. But yeah, we'll crack on into the podcast. So yeah, we had a result there on the weekend. Celtic 3, Dundee United 0. Quite a bit to talk about. But I want to start off, and I named the podcast this. I knew I'd say it, so I'll get over and done with. Tom Rogic is an Aussie God. What a player. What a goal. Goal of the year is already done. Just unbelievable. But we'll get to that a bit later. But, my thoughts on the game. We've been talking about, there's going to be a game where we score 10. That game we could have scored 15. No mucking around here. That's the honest truth there. We missed a lot of opportunities, but that happens in football. Got the win at the end of the day, so that's the main thing. What was your take on the game, Sean?
Yeah, I had to eat humble pie on that one. You were well right on your prediction last week. I was saying KJ 1-0 sort of game, and you were like, no, we'll get 3-0. And to be fair, I mean, technically we were both wrong, because that was a 3-0 flattered them beyond belief. It was like 3-0 going on 7-0. There's one where like it bounced off Turnbull and went over the bar from like 2 yards out. Even the keeper didn't know anything about it. Kyogo free header that he missed, put over the bar.
2 of them.
Looking on that, like I really enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it. We played really well. it was interesting that there was the three centre mids stepped up this time instead of everything going through Jota and Ralston. So that was good to see. But yeah, really, it was a really enjoyable game. I think it was somewhat 27 shots in the end. And my app recorded that it's 5 big chances missed, and that doesn't even count ones like when the ball comes across the 6-yard area and Kyogo is like inches away from getting on the end of it. That doesn't even register as a stat. Do you know what I mean?
That was a weird one because I enjoyed the game that much. I rewatched it again tonight after work. I'm like, I'm putting this game back on. I'm going to do this. So sat there watching the game again. And the thing I noticed when I was watching it on the weekend, but it's kind of like watching it back when you're not in the moment going, oh, come on, we're missing all these and you're getting a bit cranky or whatever that you're missing chances is Turnbull could have had a hat trick inside of 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If he took the 2 clear chances he had before the one he actually got in. So, yeah, like he had a chance at a hat trick. Kyogo could have scored a hat trick. There was just a lot of opportunities there. A lot of, I'm going to say it as Ange ball. That is pretty much what everyone who's asked us, oh, what's Ange like? Now you know.
Well, yeah, and the build up to the game, the narrative was that we want to be more clinical. We didn't achieve that, but we created so many chances that we kept up our running average of whatever it is, one goal for every 9 chances, say. So rather than being more clinical, we just created a ton of chances. And
get a lot more shots off, get more chances go in.
Yeah, and look, it was good. Like, and it was really enjoyable to watch. If you're a Celtic fan, we didn't win in the last 2 games against Dundee United. We drew 1-1 at Celtic Park. We drew, I believe it was 0-0 at Tannadice when we lost the league. I might be forgetting about one there, but I don't think so. The last game at Celtic Park, Wando Fuchs looked like a £7 million player. I was shouting, sign him up, and he looked so ordinary at the weekend there. Like, and the story came out after the game, linking him with both Celtic and Sevco, and I was like, on that performance at the weekend there, I hope he had the flu or something, because he looked absolutely pedestrian. We made him look so poor. I mean, all of them, but particularly Fuchs, who stood out so well in the past. He looked an absolute passenger. He was actually one of the main causes of problems for Dundee United, was him losing possession in his deep possession. But we created so many chances, just keeping the high press, keeping the pressure on, playing the ball quickly, getting it around the corners, into those channels. Like, there's just even getting dinking balls over the top with great depth and precision. That one from McGregor to the Turnbull goal. There was even a couple before that, And think about how many chances there would have been if the onside runs had not been flagged as offside, thanks to Crawford Allen.
Absolute knob. Like, yeah, I think Mikey was offside 3 times where he's actually onside. There was, who else?
There was one for Kyogo as well.
Kyogo a couple, I think 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
So I'm looking here now. I was actually looking at when we were just talking there. We had 7 offsides for the game. So there 1.
Maybe 3 of them were.
No, I reckon Mikey was. I reckon 4 weren't offside, so 3 were.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But the other dominant thing is corners, 12-1 we had. And then you go through 6 fouls against us, 9. Finally, the foul count was in the right order. The possession and the passing stats were unbelievable. But, yeah, I just wanted to talk about something. I'm just trying to get the guy's name so I didn't say the wrong one. So, Fuchs, the one you were just talking about.
Yeah, Wando.
That article you were talking about, or where he's being linked with both us and Rangers, the talk was that he'd go to Rangers and be Kamara's replacement. I'd happily have that happen.
Yeah, after that weekend, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but Charlie Mulgrew, he's still got it in terms of his positioning defensively.
Mm-hmm.
The only other one of their players who, even though they conceded 3, I like that young Freeman at right back for them.
Yeah, Mikey Johnson didn't. I mean, Mikey Johnson was keeping it simple. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't. He didn't rinse the guy at any point, like he did against like Hibs, and I can't remember who the other team he played against recently. But yeah, he was keeping it simple, which according to what Postecoglou said after was kind of his instruction and remit was to kind of do the simple things right. And he did that well. But yeah, you're right. The guy looked okay. Yeah, nobody. I can't really give too much pass marks to anyone else in Dundee United, to be honest. The keeper actually was good.
Yeah, I look at Segrist and go, here's someone that I wanted us to sign last off-season.
Mm-hmm.
But since we got Joe Hart, not anymore. Like,
oh, yeah.
But then I look at it and go, you'd take him over Bain as Hart's backup, but then what's the point? When you've got the younger keepers that we've spoken about on previous pods coming through. It's like, it doesn't make sense. But there was two other things I wanted to touch on. I thought Mikey Johnson, compared to last week where he was copping all sorts of shit online, much better game from him.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of Barter when he come on at halftime. I thought that looked more like it from him.
Yeah, agreed.
I thought the two of them, credit where credit's due. What's the point of giving them a hard time here and there? Well, if we're going to give them a tough time, give them some stick, we've got to give them a pat on the back when they go all right. So, yeah.
One other thing that I was looking for in advance was how Juranovic would do on the right. And his general play was good, but his final ball was because normally he's on his left foot and he floats in these crappy crosses. And I was like, oh, cool, he'll be on his right foot now. We're going to see some better final product. And nah, his final product on his right foot wasn't great either. So that was a bit of a concern for me. Not that Ralston puts in like Ralston's tactic is just to kind of drill it as hard as he can at a dangerous level, which works well for him and sometimes for Kyogo. But yeah, Juranovic was a bit disappointing with his final ball. That was one thing.
I actually thought his ball was give him another 1 or 2 games, and I think he'll find he'll get the radar in, because I thought he tended to be one step behind the guy or one step in front of the guy or slightly too high. So he was only just out. A player of his experience it's no excuse. But I'd love to give him another game or two, see where he's at playing in that position, because he's been out of position for so long. So I'll hold my view on him, make a decision on him until, give him till the transfer window, basically. Hopefully he plays a run of games at right back and we see how he is.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, unless you got anything else you want to touch on from the game, I think pretty much us and every other podcast out there's covered everything.
Oh, just Rogic. He was brilliant. Not even just the goal. There was just one moment where he had 2 Dundee United players on him, one hanging off each shoulder, and he was just doing this back and forth between his left and right foot, and then just dragged it back at an angle and put it in. Even though still these two players hanging off him, and still managed to put a perfect weight and this minuscule gap between the fullback and centre back. It was a sight to behold. Yeah, he's looking really good. That goal he scored can sit at number 3 and number 3, 4 best goals he scored, because you got the Aberdeen Cup final, and then you've got and then the Motherwell goal, and then the one he scored at Ibrox. Would that be above or below that?
It's funny because there was a video put out, and it had went for 2.5 minutes. It had all these songs and everything, and all these goals he's done in his career. And there's stuff that's halfway from the car park outside the stadium going in, and that you kind of forget about. There was that one where, the day where we're wearing the green and white under Ronnie. I don't know if that's the Motherwell one you're talking about, or if that was a game at Killy.
The 4-3 game I'm talking about.
4-3 yeah. Absolute belter in that game. To me, the Aberdeen Cup final, because of what it meant.
And it was similar to the Dundee United goal, the way he scored it.
And then I'd put this Dundee United goal and that absolute howitzer of a shot that I just mentioned, where he's wearing the green, those would be equal second. For me, that's where I put it, because he was out so far out of position where he normally is on the park. He was out on the right wing almost at halfway, gets fouled, beats a guy, gets fouled, goes past 2 others, gets in the box, beats another man, fakes Mulgrew, he goes to ground, curls a ball around him, another defender behind him, and goes in. You beat 5 or 6 players on that goal in the weekend, and it's just majestic.
It was like a sober Paddy McCourt.
Yeah, it was. I don't care what league. I don't care what league that happens in. Like, if that was Messi, it'd be shown all over the world. If that was Ronaldo, all over the world. Who cares that it's up in Scotland? Class goal is a class goal, and yeah, that was unbelievable.
If I scored that goal on a Sunday in a junior in an amateur competition, I'd be showing the video to my grandkids. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. It'd be dumb not to. So I look at that goal and go, that's just right up there. It's just world class. And yeah, not being completely biased here because he's Australian, but more of the same, please. Our Aussie Lord and Saviour, our God, Tom Rogic. Get more in there. I've called him that on previous pods, going right back to like episode 10, episode 20, way back then. Called him Aussie God as a joke. So under the Rogers time. So yeah, it's good to see him back. That's the main thing. I was talking to my wife about this before we came in here to record, and she was saying like how good his goal was, and I'm like, yeah. The thing is, you think of how well he played in that season under Rogers in the Invincible treble season. He actually had a full preseason. This is the first time since that season that he's not had to go away with Australia for the Asian Cup or World Cup or whatever, or hasn't been rehabbing from an injury that happened while playing for Australia. That's when the majority of his injuries happen. So if I take that out of it, this is probably the first time in about 5 years that he's had a full preseason under his belt. And the way he's performing this season, it's good to see. I'm so glad he didn't get sold under Lennon.
Or when Postecoglou told him he should leave Celtic. That was 7 years ago or something.
That was funny though, because if you look back into that and look into it a bit further, right? He was playing at Central Coast Mariners. He goes to Celtic. Neil Lennon didn't play him. He comes on loan back to Melbourne Victory under Ange.
Mm-hmm.
Then Ange leaves about a month later to take on the Australian national team job. And that's when he said that he should leave.
Mm-hmm.
After he left Melbourne Victory, because he got injured playing over here in a stadium that's on top of a car park, and goes back to Celtic. And then, yeah, he's told, you should leave. So if you look at all that, it's just, I don't know, I just think it's strange. But anyway, funny how football all worked out.
Just a weird coincidence, really.
Yeah. All right, so I have a couple of players here. I'll put it for player focus. Rogic was the last one I was going to talk about, but we've just waxed lyrical about him already. So let's go into a couple of others. So we had a few players returning in the last week. We had Carl Starfelt, your mate. How do you think he's gone now? You spoke on Saturday on our last podcast about him against Hearts. Did he redeem himself against Dundee United, in your opinion?
My opinion is unchanged. He is still a very competent defender. It's particularly when he gets touch tight and he's in that physical battle, he's very good at that. There was a very stupid booking. Like, the guy dived. Do you know what I mean? Let's not lie about it. The guy felt an arm and took a dive, which says as much about the player, like, not backing himself as anything. But yeah, it was a very naive putting your arm on the guy's shoulder when you've taken a crap touch. And then it's still the same thing. He still slows the play down. He still tackles with the wrong foot. He's just so one-footed. But look, I think the guy is a good defender. I do. Or he's been coached to be a good defender in recent months. He's better than Welsh. Yeah. Not better than Vickers. And who knows what we're going to get when Julian comes back. But to be fair, I could see him finishing the season with 40 to 50 games easily. And we've been pretty successful, so it's hard to argue. I just think there's better options in the world, if not currently in our squad.
I'd agree with you on that, in that there's better options in the world. In terms of our squad at the moment, I think he's our second best centre-back. Carter Vickers is the best centre-back we've got. Julian is unknown because of his injury. Who knows how long it's going to take for him to get up to speed. So realistically, it comes down to, do you play Starfelt out of position as a left centre-back, or do you play Welsh out of position there?
Mm-hmm.
That's your question. Because, like, I think Dane Murray could play left centre back, but he doesn't look like he's getting a chance. So realistically, your options are Welsh, Starfelt, or we put Near Bitton back there. They're your options for centre back. If that's the case, Starfelt. For me, other than the booking in the Dundee United game, I actually thought he was really solid. There was a point where I'm looking, there's all this attack going on. Carter Vickers is out of position, and who's back there marshalling the wing, the defence, getting it all lined up, getting it all settled when they're looking to put a long diagonal ball out to try and spring us on the break. Starfelt was running the show. So it's good to see not just that he is starting to perform a little bit, but also he's confident and comfortable enough in the back line and with his teammates now that he's like, oi, you get here, and running the show a bit if he needs to. So as far as I'm concerned, that's good to see. The more leaders in the team, the better.
He strongly reminds me of Eric Sviatchenko. He was one of those players that was like, you like to get in tight and in about the feet without slide tackling. Do you know what I mean? Like you liked a shoulder to shoulder tackle rather than a slide tackle, which is good, you know.
I was going to go with the easy option and say he reminds me of Johan Mjällby.
I mean, I'm not sure. I think he might be a bit more mobile than Mjällby, but yeah.
No, but I was saying like the way he keeps his feet and a bit of leadership pointing out, marshalling a back line, seeing that, and then both being blonde Swedish players. It's easy. It's the easy thing to just link there and say that. But yeah, I'd say it's a combination of those two. It's good to see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, I'm happy with him in there, and he'll start at Ibrox, and that's fine. I think he'll do okay as long as he doesn't. My main concern is if somebody fast gets put on him and he gets caught in the wrong foot. That's my main concern, and it could be a bad moment.
I'm going to jump ahead on something there, Sean. So you're saying that he's going to start at Ibrox for the Colts on the 31st of December?
I meant at Celtic Park in January 2nd.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll quickly just say that the next thing I was going to talk about was the Colts Glasgow Derby on the 31st is to be played at Ibrox instead of at Dumbarton. That was announced today. But we'll jump back to our player focus. I just want to talk about the two left backs that played against Dundee United. Greg Taylor, returned from injury. Is it one of those ones where he's a quality player, or is it absence makes the heart grow fonder, in that the longer he's out, the more you're like, oh, that's what we've been missing, in the same way it was with Boyata previously? What do you think it is, or do you think he's actually quality?
No, I think he is good. There have been spells in the past where you've been like, oh yeah, Greg Taylor looks great, and then he kind of goes off the boil a bit. For some reason, he always looks amazing in pre-season, like this year and last year. And then he started the season well this year. He was probably one of the best players in Ange's first few weeks. And then I don't know if he kind of fades because his ceiling is more limited than other players. I don't know. That's my kind of explanation, that he's very consistent, but he has a higher floor but a lower ceiling than the other players. He's just much more in that 7 out of 10 level on a consistent basis.
I was going to say, so you're saying he's a 6 to a 7 out of 10 every week, but he's not going to get you a 9, but he's not going to get you a 4. Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. He's never he's never going to be a 4 or a 9. He's always in that 6 to 7 range. But I don't know, that's my thought anyway. That's what kind of registers to me, is that he becomes anonymous when other players have a great game, and he never one that you're really criticising. And he defended well at the weekend. He didn't do too much going forward. He looked a bit rusty, but he did defend solidly. So I was happy with that.
So he reminds me of a not as adventurous going forward version of Lustig, in terms of defensively solid, does his job, but where Lustig could bomb forward and score the odd goal, Taylor doesn't really do that much. But I still think he's serviceable. I think he would do the job, but at the same time, he could quite easily be a quality backup. But who for? Like, I'm happy with him starting. I like him as a player, but I don't know. There's just something there that not just me, not just you, but a lot of Celtic fans just can't quite get our heads around. And it's not, for me, it's not because I'm comparing him to Kieran Tierney. It's got nothing to do with that. Kieran Tierney, freak of a player. we'll be lucky to have another player of that level at left back in, I don't know, coming through the academy, I reckon, in the next 20 years. Like, that's how good he was. So it's not me comparing him to KT, not at all. But it's one of them ones where there's just something that's just not right there. But I think it's probably because I still wanted Burger Melling, because I just wanted someone called Burger at the club. I thought that was an awesome name. Like, that's something so stupid. But he was, if we were going to lose Tierney, Melling was the sort of player that I wanted, because he was just as adept going forward as he was coming back and defending. He was a very similar sort of player to what we lost. To bring in Taylor, who is limited going forward, I don't know. But we'll put that one to the side.
Yeah, we all just recognise that he's not going to take us to that next level. He's not a Champions League standout.
He's good at domestic level, but he's not going to be the thing to step us up in Europe.
Yeah,
in the same way that Ralston is exactly the same. Ralston isn't a Champions League quality right back, but he's doing the job at Europa League level. Good, okay. So what's our level as a club? What are we looking for in Europe? That's what we've got to figure out. And then we've got Liam Scales made his league debut, scored a nice bit of composure to put that ball in and get the third goal. So what was your take on Scales' appearance, Sean?
Yeah, it was good. He looked composed. It was nice to have a bit of height at the back. And he took his goal well, even if it was a bit of a big deflection on it. I really hope to see him getting a start on Thursday. Yeah, he's one of those ones, like, he comes in and he does well, and you're like, why do we not see him at any other time? Particularly since we just had a change because of injury, and it was Taylor straight back in. I mean, what I read was that Taylor, because it was a shoulder injury, his fitness never dropped because he was still able to run. So it was just a case of whether he was match sharp or not. So that kind of explains that one. But still, like, you would have thought that maybe, I guess Tannadice isn't. Maybe if it was like St Mirren at home, it would have been Scales instead of Taylor. I don't know. But he always looks composed. He always looks strong. He's, I'd like to see him get a little bit more of a chance. But I do understand the not wanting to test that out in crucial games. Maybe he can play. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he plays the next two games. I don't know. But be good to see him getting a run out at some point this week. I think there's something there. It's hard to tell what, though, in limited minutes.
With there was Scales for me. I think there's a player there, but what level of player? Who knows until he gets a run of games. What my concern is that we signed all these young Irish boys, and none of them have really been given a chance of consistent playing. Guys like Afolabi, guys like Luke O'Connell,
Wilson Larwell.
I was going to say Larwell.
Yeah.
You've got Scales, and then there was one other guy who's on loan, a little midfielder. So there's like 6 young Irish guys.
No, gone out of my head, but yeah.
Anywho, you look at it and go, Scales getting in, great, but I don't want him to be in, play 2 or 3 matches. Next thing you know, he's back sitting on the bench rotting away like all those guys are. Because let's be honest, it's our island. If we want players from there, junior players, they'll come.
Yeah.
I'm just being straight up honest. You ask a lot of Irish people, who's your team? Celtic and English team? Man United, Liverpool. They've all got an English team and Celtic. So
I find that they normally tell you the English team first because it's assumed that they support Celtic. Like exactly. They feel like they don't have to say it.
Because everyone knows it. Yeah.
Yeah. You go, what's your team? Man United. Like, not Celtic? Oh, of course Celtic, but then Man United.
Yeah, one of my mates is Irish, and he's like, when I met him in primary school, I was like, yeah, so what's your team? He goes, Liverpool, and I'm like, what? Not Celtic? He goes, don't worry about that. That's in the blood. So Yeah, it's one of those ones where we can get those players and they've got a good crop of youngsters, but if we're not going to play them, this is where the Colts coming in was a good thing. The other one I was thinking of was Barry Coffey. That was the other name. If we could see some of those players over the next 12 months start to establish themselves, great. But are they going to get given that chance? Who knows? So watch this space. But anyway, it's good to see Scales out there getting the run.
Did you see Rocco Vata as well?
No. There you go.
He's apparently making headlines at the under-18 levels at the moment.
Okay, so we've got 7 of them. There you go.
Yeah, the very Irish-sounding Rocco Vata, whose dad is Albanian and I'm guessing his mum. I don't know where his mum's from. But yeah, Rudy Vata's son. Do you remember Rudy Vata?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very limited, but yeah, I know the name.
Yeah. But he was one of those. He was like he could play anywhere along the back or midfield. That was his kind of thing.
Yeah. There we go. So we'll jump on to the next topic because I just looked at how long we've been going. I'm like, geez, we're going to need to smash through some things here, but this won't take long. First of all, I want to say congratulations to the Celtic women's team on winning the League Cup. Great job, ladies. First trophy in, was it like over 10 years?
Yeah, and they beat Glasgow City as well. So
exactly, that's the thing. Beating Glasgow City as well. Like I saw the squad, I'm like, oh yeah, we won, cool. I'm like, against Glasgow City.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Exactly. That's giant killing.
So it's good. Keep it up. It's what we like. Now, something you shared in our group chat, Sean. Craig Levein's ref comments.
Yes. I listened to the podcast, the actual Sports In podcast where he said it, and I was like, I rewound back on it to like double check that he'd actually said it. But like on the BBC national broadcast, he literally straight up called a referee a cheat, called the referee a Hun, not using those words. He said it was
I've
a
got
Rangers
the actual
fan.
transcript right here.
Go for it. Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah.
So it just says that they're talking about Robbie Nielsen's comments, and then he claimed that
So the specific comment they were talking about was when Robbie Nielsen said, that's what happens when you come to Glasgow. Yeah. So they were talking about whether that counts as bias, accusing referees of bias.
Okay, and then Levein's gone, I can go back to the game when I was at Dundee United at Ibrox and the official was absolutely appalling. He made mistake after mistake after mistake. I think it's Kenny McIntyre, isn't it? He goes, was that pressure from the crowd? Is that what you're saying? Levein's like, no, it was his last game, his very last game, and he got given a game at Ibrox because I believe he was a Rangers supporter. Tom English goes, see, I don't. Levein's like, say what you want about it then, Kenny McIntyre. You're saying that there's no understanding, there's absolutely no evidence of why it was given the game. That's the point. Levein's like, well, that's what I think.
Yeah.
And it just goes on from there.
They were all really careful to say opinion, think, believe. They were using all these words like...
and that none of them even goes to him. Where was it? About court. That's not... Tom English goes, oh, Levein got asked if it was it. He goes, I don't say I've got any evidence of it. And then Tom English is like, that's not admissible in court, though. It's not going to stand up in court. Levein goes, I'm not looking to go to court. If I'm standing in the dugout at Ibrox and the referee's made 5 or 6 huge mistakes, do you not think I'm entitled to come out and point that out?
Mm-hmm. And then look, it took me exactly 5 minutes of research to find out the referee he was talking about. And I'm just going to say it now. It was, am I allowed to say it? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It was Mike Mccurry. So I don't know if anyone remembers Mike Mccurry, but he's a Protestant Christian pastor, minister. So before he retired in 2008, or sorry, he didn't actually retire. He was stood down by the SFA. He was taken off their refereeing list. And I did find the match report for the game that he's talking about, and it was Rangers. I keep doing that. Rangers 3, Dundee United 1, and it was like controversial Dundee chopping off of Dundee United goals, and Rangers scored a last minute one to make it 3-1, stuff like that. Yeah, like even on the BBC article from 2008, the headline was referee controversy. Do you know what I mean? And so it really took me all of 5 minutes to figure out which referee he was talking about. And there it is. You know, like no other media sources is actually picked up on that to the extent of saying who he's talking about, even though it's very obvious who he's talking about to me. So I don't know what that says. I mean, we all know that this is like it's the Freemasons Club, the Scottish Freemasons Association.
I've got a few
And
thoughts on this, Sean. I don't really want to put them out on the podcast, but I'll go through my least controversial one. First of all, Craig Levein. Half the stuff that comes out of his mouth, I don't believe. The other half I tune out, right? However, in this instance, because enough people that I know and trust have actually made valid points on this, you look into it. And as you've done your research, I saw similar stuff. And for me, I thought it'd be a cold night in hell when I agreed with Craig Levein on something. So, yeah, it's
another point to consider. Yeah, another point to consider is Craig Levein was literally employed by the SFA the following year. In 2009 to 2012, he was employed by the SFA. So I think he's in a position to speak on that, You
think he'd know what's going on behind the scenes. So, yeah.
Yeah, even if he didn't at the time, he would have found out a year later, like
exactly
what it's like behind there.
Yeah.
So
anyway, it's an interesting little revelation and seeing what's going on behind the scenes there. And if he's breaking ranks finally with his background and saying something like that, then I'm all for it. The more of that, the better.
I mean, there was other ones as well. Like, they were talking just so many things. Like they were saying, like, when the referees ever change their mind, and I'm shouting at the radio, like, Diggy McDonald, Diggy McDonald, Diggy. Do you remember that one where he changed his mind on the penalty that he gave Celtic and pinned it on the linesman? Do you remember that?
No, it's been too many incidents over the years that I'm just like.
It was a Gary Hooper one, I think, or Scott McDonald, I forget which. And Hooper McDonald was fouled in the box. He awards a penalty, and then he pulls his linesman over to consult with him, and then he says to his linesman, like covering his face, says to his linesman, "Oh, I think I've fucked this up. Do you know what I mean? I think I've made an arse of this. I don't think it was actually a penalty. Can you pretend to talk to me, and then I'll overturn it." And then he had to retire after that, and because the linesman actually came out afterwards. The linesman retired because of it, and went to the media and told them what had actually happened. So
and that's why referees won't ever be wired up for like in other sports where you can hear the refs. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
But the other thing for me, talking about referees at the moment, and that this all triggered on from the Kyogo thing. The amount of shithousery going on at the moment towards Kyogo, people trying to tarnish him, saying this legacy that he's a diver and all this sort of stuff, and build up his reputation for him, so that because he's that fast and he's smaller than people, yeah, okay, he's going to get bumped. He'll go down a bit easier. But I'm not saying he's a diver. Like, if you got a guy the size of, say, let's figure this out, going with a cup final coming up. If you got Ryan Porteous with how big and clumsy he is as a centre back, and you got Kyogo sprinting fast at him. If those two collide, what's going to be the result? Just be honest here. Anyone listening would be able to figure out that more than likely, if someone falls over, it's going to be Kyogo. Okay? So people have got seems like there's an agenda here because teams are fearful of how fast he's able to get to the ball and score goals, and that we saw it with all the incorrect offsides on the weekend. We saw it again with the whole, looks like he got pinched when he pulled up his shirt against Hearts.
Yeah, that was sore. That was painful.
That didn't look nice. So the thing for me, I'm looking at it going, if this continues, we've got to, as a club, we've got to do something to protect our player. Like, I can just see it in Ange. He's getting snippier and snippier with the media, asking him stuff where he's just going to erupt pretty soon, and he's going to cut sick on this sort of narrative. And if we look at it overall, something we didn't even talk about on the Dundee United game was the potential leg breaker on Turnbull. We're lucky that didn't happen, right? He didn't break his leg. But if you look at that, you go back to the start of the season, I think there was an Andy Halliday tackle on, was it Cal McGregor? There's been one of the Axon pods, or I think it was, or the Cynic, one of them, were going through and they were playing through, these are all the incidents that post game were either upgraded from a yellow to a red, or the guy got a retroactive red card, right? There's been
Paul John was listing all the ones that he thought
there you
should
go. It
have
was
been.
like some.
Yeah.
And it works out there's 7 times this season should have been a red card.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, the guys who are playing those teams after us get the benefit, but we don't get a benefit.
Apparently, Sevco are going to get the Callum Butcher suspension.
Yeah. So they get a benefit from this where we didn't. We still won the game, but it's irrelevant. So, yeah. Something's got to be said.
Yeah, and look, Michael Stewart was on the BBC broadcast saying he wasn't talking about either Celtic game. He was talking about the Hearts Livingston game, and he was talking about players being missing games because of a toting up of yellow cards, which weren't quite yellow cards. And he's like, players are missing games because too many yellow cards, players missing games. And I'm like, what about players missing games because they're getting fucking wrecked by players, by tackles that our referees are allowing? Do you know what I mean? Like, that is... I was just so furious with listening to say that. Like, good, if you get 5 yellow cards, fine, miss a game. Like, we've got players missing like months of games because of bad tackles. Do you know what I mean? Like, where's the defense for that? You know, we should be cracking down much more on these tackles. It's outrageous. I think is it one? I think if we had one red card from a one straight red card anyway. The Power one, Alan Power, St Mirren, was that the one?
Yep.
And then there was like 7 others that could have been. And it's not for Kyogo. It's not like Kyogo doesn't speak English. Like he's the most respectful guy in the world. You know what I mean? He picks up rubbish when he's walking around the pitch. When a defender's down injured, he's over like seeing if they're okay and giving them water and things like that. So these guys are picking on him just out of pure like professional malice that they can't handle him as a footballer, not any other reason. It's not like he's Alfredo Morelos going around like standing on people's feet and like hitting them in the face, you know, like he's just... And then Livingston boy just cracks him one, and John Souttar's like grabbing him in the stomach, and it's just, I don't know. And then whatever the other Hearts player elbowed him in the face, and I don't know, man. It's just badness. Do you know what I mean? It's just pure badness, and because of what happened, where he kind of did go down easy, not go down easy, but did exaggerate when he got punched in the face. They're targeting him because of that, and referees are not giving him anything because of that. The referees are like, yep, he's exaggerating this, I'm not going to give it. Even though he's like showing this big mark on his chest where John Souttar's grabbed a chunk of him. And look, that's a tactic that some Celtic players have done in the past. I remember Alan Thompson got a Motherwell player sent off by doing that because he pinched him and the Motherwell player elbowed him in the face. So it's something that people do, but it should be a yellow card offence at least. You know, that should have been a penalty if the ball was in play.
Yep, exactly. So what we'll do is we'll quickly just jump on to the next topic. So there was comments by Leslie Dean's former, Hibs chairman or owner. So I'll just read them and then we'll discuss it.
Hearts chairman.
Hearts, sorry, not Hibs. I looked at the wrong line on my run sheet here, but yeah, so he said, I'm absolutely staggered that there's been no public apology from Celtic to Hearts, Barry Mackay or both. A player in their stadium has been assaulted at least once, possibly more. The staggering that they haven't commented. You can well understand that Celtic are embarrassed by this, but the fact is it happened. The football authorities have got to take action on this and show everybody thinking along these lines that something will be done. If this had happened under the auspices of UEFA, Celtic would have been thrown out of the competition. The very least that should happen here is that the game should be replayed. The fact that there is an argument to say Hearts should be awarded the points. In fact, there is an argument. So basically, he's saying that because of a bottle getting thrown at Barry Mackay, even though they lost the game should be replayed, or Hearts should be given the win. Now, John Paul Taylor, Celtic SLO, his reply on Twitter was the best. Posted a tweet saying, fixture updates look like we're going to have a fixture pop due to all the games being replayed for incorrect decisions against us in recent seasons. Best reply. So all I have to say on this one to Leslie, Deans, real simple. To quote any wrestling fans tuning in, to quote The Rock, no roll and shut your mouth. Seriously, that's such a stupid comment. You lost the game. It had nothing to do with the result, a bottle being thrown at someone. That should never happen, and whoever did that, he's been arrested and all that sort of stuff. Great. We don't want that person in the stadium. But why should the game be replayed because of that? Why should Hearts get given the 3 points for that? You weren't the better team on the day, so just shut up.
Yeah, especially after the John Wilson incident in 2011, where the guy ran on the pitch and punched Neil Lennon at Tynecastle. So, like, of any team that wants to pass judgment on someone being assaulted from the stands, Hearts are pretty low down on having moral authority and relevance to comment on that. So
it's the popcorn, the kettle black, Sean.
Yeah, and look, that and the John Wilson thing was even worse because even though it was on live TV, it was not proven in court. He didn't get charged. It was dismissed as not proven.
Jeez.
So, make of that what you will. Maybe it's not just the SFA that's full of Freemasons.
Yep. So we'll jump on to the last thing I want to talk about before we preview the games coming up. So there was an article in The Sun, right? I know, don't read the red tops. I get it.
Especially
but I had to bring this up because I saw it tweeted and stuff everywhere. The headline was, Celtic are worse off in the premiership under Ange Postecoglou than Neil Lennon as Ange Ball goes under the microscope. And then you go through it all, and what it's, in a nutshell, what it's saying is we're 2 points worse off after 16 games in the league this season than we were last season. Now, for me, I could completely care less that we're 2 points behind on how many we scored after 16, right? We got on our thing because at the end of the day, after 16 games last year, we were 16 points behind Rangers.
Is that right? Is that what it was?
That's what I saw someone do in the article. It says the same thing. Now we're only 4 points behind Rangers. So this year, you've got Hearts who are doing well. You've got Dundee United doing well. There's more teams taking points off each other. So it's not just a clear runaway with us and Rangers at the top of the league. It's a lot closer. So on that front, that's just a whole bunch of shithousery. We played well. We get a 3-0 win. Ange Ball's starting to go there. We're getting a few players back. Even though we've lost some to injuries, we're still playing well. Let's try and cause trouble here because it's a busy month, and let's just try and get the fans offside because they already know that there's issues between the fans and the board because of the potential Bernard Higgins appointment. So let's just, put some fuel on the fire here and see what we can do. So I just think it's a load of crap. You ask any Celtic fan who watched the team last season and is watching it now, what you're seeing on the pitch now compared to last season, you can actually see a plan and something that looks modern and is exciting and something you want to get behind. And last season, this time of year, the training wheels were falling off the bike. The handlebars had come loose. I think the guy had a puncher in his wheel as well, and he was about to fall off. So Neil Lennon should have been getting sacked about this time last year, and he hung in there till February. So, yeah, I think these sort of articles are a load of shit.
Well, yeah, look, what that is using stats to create a false narrative. We already discussed it in a previous podcast about how we had a really poor start to the season, where it was 10 points from 21 in our first 7 games. So 3 wins, a draw, and 3 losses, something like that. And, we were all aware that was our worst start to the league since 98, 99. So we've recovered from that quite spectacularly. If you want to look at Neil Lennon's last year, he had a great start to the league. I think before we lost to Sevco at Celtic Park, but other than that, we'd had 1 draw and 1 every other game or something like that. So yeah, Neil Lennon had a much better start to the league, but we can all remember that we weren't playing well. We were winning those games by the odd goal, like Lee Griffiths scoring in injury time against St Johnstone, that sort of thing. And then when we came back from the first international break with Neil Lennon last year, we were just spectacularly awful. Yeah, we were picking up the odd points here and there, but we were really, really poor in that October and November run. There's nobody denies it. We all wanted them out. And since Celtic came back this year from the first international break, we've been spectacular. I think we've won, correct me if I'm wrong here, is it 8 out of 9 domestic games? 9 out of 10? Other than that 0-0 with Livingston, we've won every game since that. Since we won away to Aberdeen, which was our first away win in 6 months, we've won every away game domestically. The only game we've dropped points since then was the Livingston at home, where we're doing 0-0. So, okay, we're 2 points worse off, sure. That's a result of dropping 11 points in our first 7 games. But we've been in great form since then. And if it keeps going through December and into the 2nd of January, then we might not be top at the winter break, but we'll certainly not be any further behind than we are now, and we'll be in a good position.
Exactly. Like, I think where we are now, we're ready to strike. Like, got a few players there coming in, potentially lined up already, guys from Japan. So I think we're at a point where we're just going to improve and get better. You look across the town, they need to sell guys, or they're not going to be able to sign anyone until they sell. So I don't know. I'm looking at it going, I'm not worried. I think we're in a good spot and the league's there to be won. But these sort of stories, I just think they're irrelevant at the end of the day.
And look, there's a cup there to be won as well. We were well at the cup quarter-final. What was it? We lost at home to Falkirk or something? I don't even remember now. Was last year? Was that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and this year we're in the cup final. And we're about to go up against a team whose current form is 4 points out of 24. So, like, I think, we're going to have silver. Well, I don't want to jump the gun on that one. I'm looking forward to going out that night and watching it at the Supporters Club at Johnny Fox's. Pretty buzzing for that, to be honest. Yeah, like we could have silverware wrapped up in 2 weeks. We've already got silverware for the women. There's no, like, that is a stupid comparison. It's clickbait. It's clickbait, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yep, definitely is. So what we'll do, Sean, is we'll leave that topic there because I think we've both covered it off there. So we'll just preview the upcoming games. So Celtic versus Real Betis on Thursday night in the Europa League. For me, I'm kind of torn, and I think a lot of supporters are when you look at it and you see what people are commenting on Twitter and other pods and that, because we've got such a busy month that you wouldn't blame Ange if he was just to play the kids and rest guys, rest the team. However, Ange doesn't seem that way. He's like, every game you got to win, and you've got the coefficient points you got that you want to get, and the money that if we win the game will help us, right? So on that front, you want to go and win. So what I'm thinking is, I'd like to see some guys get games. I'd like to see Kalmak, Kyogo, Rogic get a break. Those three can have a break. Yeah. And then I'd like to see Taylor get another 45 minutes or an hour. Scales getting a bit more of a run. Yeah, wouldn't mind it if even if Joe Hart got a game off and they put in the young keeper from the Colts who's been on the bench the last few games. Wouldn't mind that either. So, like, I want to see some of the younger guys get a game. Wouldn't mind if Liam Shaw played, but like, that's cool. That's bringing someone in from the cold. So, yeah. At the end of the day, I want the win. I think if we play a full strength team, I think we win that 3-2. If we don't play a full strength team, then probably 1-1.
It really depends on what Betis come with, because like they got a fine recently for breaching financial fair play, so they need the 500,000 euros or whatever, 600,000 euros, whatever it is for a win. And the manager came out and said that. He literally said it. I take a kind of opposite, not opposite, like whatever the word is, the opposite direction approach to you from the view of rotation. Rather than looking at who I want to rest, I'm thinking who do I want to bring in, and then look at the bench at the weekend. All 6 of those names, outfield players, should all be starting, in my opinion, and that's it. I don't think it should be more than that. Like Montgomery on the wing, Scales at left back, Beton at centre mid, Ayeti up front, Abada on the wing, McCarthy at centre mid. The only other one I might add to that list would be Sorrow. Other than that, I'd be trying to keep some of the other players in, the ones that have, like Vickers can play again because he was rested last week.
Let's come up with an idea, Sean. Mm-hmm. How about we play Barkas and Ayeti and put them both in the shop window?
What will you want to knock value off their money off their value? Is that what you want to do?
It's got no value anyway. Cabbage hands.
It's probably better. They're probably retaining value by not being on a pitch. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It would have been good to have Giacomakis start a game, but he's not fit, so that's unfortunate. But I wouldn't be chucking kids in for the sake of it.
Fair enough. I just love the away game against who was it last year? Where we just went and Karamoko made his debut away in Europe.
Was it in France?
No, it was Romania. What was the team over there?
Cluj. Did we play Cluj?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing something like that because I found that game exciting to watch. Even though it was such a bit of a mismatch of a lineup, I still found it enjoyable to watch that.
Mm-hmm. And look, there was the game against Rennes where we brought in Turnbull and Sorrow. I think it was actually because of injury, and they two absolutely rocked the show at Celtic Park when we won 3-2, and that was the making of Turnbull.
Been out of the squad since.
Exactly, that was the absolute making of Turnbull. Sorrow kind of dropped off after that, to be fair, but still, like, sometimes you just need a chance, and it doesn't necessarily matter who it's against.
Yep. All right, and then we've got Motherwell on the weekend. What are you hoping from that? Other than a win.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. My only disappointment is it's a bit late. It's quite a late kickoff on the Sunday. I read, sorry, I'm not going to lie. I didn't read. I saw a headline that Motherwell are down to one fit centre-back. If that's true, then I feel sorry for them. I'm actually expecting Tony Watt to score. He's been on good form and he's going to have revenge in his mind. So I'm motivated.
He's doing well in your fantasy team.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I'm motivated and firing Tony Watt is a problem for us, but I still think they're not going to be able to keep us out. We'll score 3-1. I'm going to say 3-1.
I was going to say 4-1. There you go.
Yeah.
Diogo hat-trick after getting rested on Thursday night. Done.
Take it.
Happy days. All right. So what we'll do is our usual, we end the podcast with a final thought each, but before we do that, I'll just quick give a shout out. So if you haven't already done so, please jump onto your Facebook, like our Facebook page, and join our group on Instagram and Twitter at Celtic Down. You can follow us there. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, website, CelticDownUnder.com. Please check it out for some articles and anything else. And, we appreciate all your support as usual. So, Sean, you want to go your final thought?
Yep. End of term next week. Woo! School's out for summer. So I won't be on next Wednesday for no reason other than I'm going to be quite inebriated, celebrating end of term, playing Goon of Fortune. For people in Scotland that don't know what that is, a goon bag is when you get a box of wine and you take the silver bag of wine out the box, and that's a goon bag. Whatever.
And you clip it on the hills hoist, and then you spin. Yeah. Everyone stands around, you spin it, and whoever it ends on has to drink. That's the game. Yeah. It's one of those washing line spinny things that you put. Goon of misfortune. There you go. Goon of misfortune. Get stuck in, Sean. You'll love it. Yeah. All right, and on my one, I just want to say, if you're in Melbourne and you're a Celtic fan, get down to the Jockstein CSC at the Vine over the next few weeks. They're having a few games being shown at the pub now that restrictions are lifting. So they've got an AGM on there coming up soon, but especially on the 2nd of January. It's going to be a good turnout at the Vine for the derby. So anyone who is in Melbourne looking for a game, come on down there. I'll be there. Let's all watch the game together, have a bit of a sing-song, see us win, and it'll be a great night. Thanks for listening in, everyone. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.